I'm going to attempt reanimating a fight scene from the brand new season of One Punch Man in only 7 days to see if a guy with no studio, just a pen, a tablet, and 2 years of experience can animate better than an entire staff list with over 100 animators, completely by myself. I'll be working day and night to complete one of many terrible fight scenes in the JC staff adaptation of One Punch Man. But I had to get started fast, because my timer starts now. Today is December 3rd, 5:29 p.m., which marks the first of 7 days of this week-long animation challenge. Which means that for the next week, I'm going to be working like a JC staff animator. Long nights of nothing but animating, impossible deadlines, and no sunlight. No sunlight at all. This is going to be a rough week. Okay, so my goal for this challenge is to recreate a scene from the new season of One Punch Man. So first we have to pick a scene to reanimate. No, not that one. We need something new. Something a bit less saturated. So to make my life a little easier, I decided that before this challenge even started, I'd ask my community what scene they want to see me reanimate. And I think it was pretty obvious on what they wanted to see. Now, last time I didn't finish the challenge. So this time I'm going to change my approach a little bit. Instead of starting the challenge and only technically working for 2 days, I'm going to follow a simple approach that definitely won't be easy, but will most certainly get the job done. Pick a fight scene to reanimate. Step 2. Grab all the references and character sheets that I'll need for this animation, and throw it in the Milanote to make my life just a little bit easier. Next step is to storyboard each scene to make sure my animation has a solid foundation, which will keep the fight consistent and smooth. Unlike this. Step 4, the hardest step, animate the entire scene, along with coloring and shading. Then step 5, throw it in the CapCut and add sound effects and compositing to give my animation a nice clean look in the final results. And with that out of the way, it's time to get started on this 7-day challenge. Okay, so now that we've gathered our character sheets and the storyboard, all we have to do is animate the scene. But before we do, let me show you what I managed to cook up for these storyboards. And strap in, because there's a lot of scenes in this fight. So if you don't want to watch, just skip to this point in the video. As sounds of rubble fill the dungeon, Garou emerges from the smoke, limping and bleeding to the battlefield. Giro watches in shock as Garou's stomach wound is seamlessly healed without any effort. With blood running from his face, gives a disturbing smile as we pan back to Giro, then to Orochi with his cape waving in the air with dust and smoke all around him. It goes quiet, which soon explodes into an intense battle as he sends a barrage of attacks towards Garou. Garou makes his way onto one of Orochi's spikes and closes the gap further between them, and is soon met with 3 monsters that without any effort, he slices through them with his technique. In the last scene of the animation, we see Garou quickly adapting to the speed of Orochi. He blitzes out of frame, which is quickly followed by smoke that fills the camera, along with Orochi's spikes being unable to keep up with his immense speed. And since this is only a 7-day challenge, I don't have time to animate the full fight. So I'll be cutting it in half, just for a minute of extra time. Because, let's be frank, I can't animate an entire 3-minute or 5-minute fight scene in just 7 days. That's insane. But if this video gets to 5k likes, I'll animate the other half. Now with the yapping out of the way, it's time to get started with this insane animation, which is possibly one of the best animations I've ever made. Now, since Garou's in such a horrible state at the time of this first scene, since he literally got tossed around and had his stomach punctured, he's gonna be limping in the frame. Kinda like Bakugo in that one episode, which is my main inspiration for this cut. I got to work on the rough animation for this cut, trying to get the main poses and keyframes down before I get to the line work. And for the next few cuts, they play out pretty similar to the manga, only with a few tweaks. Like, instead of all the yapping from Garou, I'm just going to let the character acting do all the talking. Because, let's be honest here, I don't have time to animate a character talking. I gotta get moving. Yeah, something I didn't realize when I started this challenge is that Orochi is actually one of the hardest characters to draw. I was blitzing through the first few cuts, but when I got to Orochi, all my progress stopped. Even with every character sheet and picture I could find, I just couldn't draw him. And by the time I should have been done with the first half of the animation, I wasn't even 1/4 of the way done with it. At this rate, I won't even finish the line art before the week is over. So either I lock in beyond belief, or something has to change. Whether that be less animation or whatever. I'm gonna figure it out tomorrow on day. So while I was at work, I came up with a devious plan to finish the rough animation in time. So we're bringing the paper back out again. Instead of over animating Orochi, because that's just going to take way too much time, I decided to basically just copy the manga for this cut to save me just a little bit of time. And after just a little bit of tweaking and animation, the cut was complete. And as long as I keep the same approach, I shouldn't have any trouble with the rough animation. So I got to animating until around 6 p.m. when I went to go take a lunch break. Now, while I eat this food, let me tell you exactly why I wanted to do this challenge in the first place. It all started when the new season of One Punch Man came out. And me, along with every other fan, watched in horror as their favorite show got slaughtered in front of our eyes. So, as any normal person would do, I wanted to test and see, with a tight schedule and almost impossible deadlines, if I could make something that could compare or even shoot past what JC Staff managed to make in 6 months. Which is exactly what I planned to do. I got to work on one of the most important action-packed cuts of the entire animation. The scene where Orochi's hair, whips, or whatever you call them, started to attack Garou. The speed and execution of the movement could completely make or break this animation. On one hand, you could have beautiful animation like this. Or you could have whatever JC Staff made. Which is what we don't want. So I spent a lot of time working on this scene, and I think I got something I'm pretty happy with. And this is by no means the final animation that you'll see at the end of the video. This right here is just a rough animation. A rough draft, if you will. And I kept animating for a few more hours until I reached the infamous scene that was all over the internet. And was honestly the one good looking cut of this entire episode, if I'm being honest. Animated by Van Oba. Yeah, that one. I spent an unholy amount of time on this cut, trying to get the flow, hand proportions, and the speed of the shot perfect. I filmed countless reference videos trying to get the hand poses down to a T, and before I knew it, it was 1 a.m. And even though I animated for 8 hours today, I still wasn't able to finish the rough animation. And since I have work early in the morning tomorrow, it's not like I can stay up for much longer. So with that being said, I hopped in the shower and went to bed, hoping that things would be different on day. Okay, so I didn't realize it last night, but I'm basically done with the rough animation. So I'm just gonna knock that out real fast, and we can finally get started on the line work. And now that the rough animation is complete, we can now scratch it off of our to-do list. Now, even though I'm on track to complete this challenge, the line work is what will make or break this animation, which means that I can't waste a single second, because if I'm not locked in these next few days, consider this challenge over. So with that being said, I got some caffeine in my system and prepared for the long night ahead of me, starting with the backgrounds, which set the tone and environment that the characters are in. And for the rest of the day, I worked on the backgrounds and the line art. I finished up most of the backgrounds, but I did a little bit less of the line work than I had originally hoped. So with that being said, I'm going to try to do a little bit more of the line work before I go to bed. So I'll see you in the morning on day 3. Okay, so as you already saw yesterday on day 3, we finished up the rough animation, which is a step in the right direction, but I was only able to complete the first 2 cuts of line art, all in one day, which isn't even close to the pace I set myself up for on day 1. So basically, I turned my headphones up to the max, locked my door, and made sure my phone was on silent. No distractions, I'm locked in. And as you might have guessed, I had to lock in beyond belief to finish the line art today. So I didn't really film much, but after animating for the entire day, I had completed the most dreaded part of this challenge, and after hours of animating from morning to night, I finally went to bed knowing that the hardest part of the challenge was over. Or so I thought. I woke up today tired, but also relieved that I had finished the line art. But regardless of that, there were still the last 2 steps that I had to complete before I can really rest. So I can't waste any time because this animation isn't going to finish itself. For coloring, I wanted the room to have that nice heavy tone. Kind of like something that you'd find from an Elden Ring boss battle. Which I feel that JC's staff definitely missed out on in the anime. The colors are flat with very little compositing. It's kinda ugly, and it really leaves a lot to be desired. So I went searching for some references online and came across the perfect inspiration. Now, with the foundation of the step finally set in place, we can finally get started on the coloring. For coloring Garou and pretty much all the other characters in the scene, I stayed pretty close to the colors that were used in the anime. So I continued to color for the rest of the day, and finished up most of the cuts. Which leaves me room to color in the rest of the backgrounds and finish the line work on day 6. I started today off as usual, woke up, ate some food, and showered. Then immediately got to the animation. And it didn't take me long before I had finally completed the coloring. Which means all I need to do now is the backgrounds and then color them in. And then on the final day, I'm gonna do some compositing, fix up any mistakes in the line work or coloring process, and then export the final animation. So I'm gonna get to work and I'll see you on the final day. "24 hours remain until this long journey will finally come to an end." This video has honestly taken me forever to make, and I'm just extremely proud to see what I was able to create with just a little over a week of time and dedication. But by no means is this a perfect animation. The cuts are low detailed, the character models are inconsistent, and so is the line work. A lot of shortcuts had to be made to even finish this animation on time. But regardless of the various inconsistencies and mistakes, I still believe that with just a week of time, I was able to outdo the original animation done by JC's staff. Mind you, completely by myself. But if I learned anything during this insane journey, it's that when I set my mind to something, it might seem insane or impossible, but if I just stick with it and keep pushing forward, even if the journey gets rough, like I get tired or sick, regardless of the circumstances, I will always get back up and keep pushing forward. And the same goes for you. If you have a dream or a goal that you want to achieve, don't let anyone or anything stop you from achieving your dream. But anyways, with that out of the way, it looks like the animation just finished exporting. So let's check it out. And make sure you like and subscribe to see more fire animations like this one. And comment something like "I was here" if you made it to the end.